Hey, welcome back guys. Today we have a special episode. So it's an under construction episode, but we're working on somebody else's car. This is a customer's car. This is Ellie's Escort. We're just working on some of his doors. So what I'm going to show you here is what's happened to these doors previously at another panel beaters, and what I'm going to be discovering basically and working on as I go along. So this one here, I already had a start on yesterday. And that gave me a few surprises, which I showed earlier. Now this one here, I'm sure will have the same sort of things. I've already had a quick look at it, and it's got a couple of nice little nasty surprises that no one has done any work on, or has said that they did do work on, and yeah, wait till you see it. Okay, so the first step is just to give it a clean up. So what I'll do, I'll vacuum the whole thing inside and out, just to get all this dust and muck off it, and then you can see a little bit of the damage or work that needs to be done a little bit more clearly. So we'll just hit it with the vacuum, start cleaning it up. You can see over here somebody's already had a go at sanding or doing something. You can see all the scratch marks off there. I'm not sure if that's the panel beater or who did that, but yeah, it's been done. The other door didn't have that done. The other door hadn't been touched on the jambs. But we'll see how we go with this one. Let's start. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this little flathead screwdriver, and then I'm going to scrape along. I'll just show you that edge there. So where the door skin sort of meets the jamb, you can see all that dirt and crud that's sort of built up over the years. There's little bits that sort of get stuck in there, little rocks, old bits of weathering strip and stuff like that. It's good to get them all out, get it all completely clean. The next thing I like doing is hitting the whole lot with the blower. So any little bits that are sort of stuck in there, this will get it out. Alright, so after it's all vacuumed out and pretty clean, it doesn't have to be spotless, but if you can get all those loose bits of, you know, broken pieces and dirt from thousands of years and whatever, you can start seeing things a little bit better. So what I've discovered is there's a hole here somebody's made, not very well, doesn't even look like it's been done with a drill. I don't know what they go with that. That could have been for maybe a door speaker or something. There's another one there that doesn't look factory. I'm going to leave those big ones. I'll just put a grommet in them. But this one's got to go. There's not one on the other door, so I'll get rid of that one. At least this door's got the that big hole, so I'll just grommet both of them. But I'll get rid of this small hole. I'll just fill that up with weld. Over here, there's some rust. As you can see, it's eaten all the way through. A couple of little holes there, so I'll have to cut that out. It's going to be a little bit tricky because it's right, sort of looks like it's hitting underneath the skin there. So I'll have to do the best I can with that. Put a patch piece there. Looks like somebody's discovered it earlier and hasn't done anything about it. There's a bit of bog here. Don't know what that's about, but if you look on the inside, I'm not sure if you can see that. There's a patch panel that's been welded in there. I'll have to have a really good look at that to see what's going on with that, if it's been done properly or not. And then we've got the one that I like, the funny stuff. Let's see if we can see it in there. Well, it's a bit hard, but I'll zoom in. So see there? See that bog coming through a hole? There should be another one over there. There'll be another one along there. Oh, there's another one. And there's another one. So one guess at what they are. Yeah, they're mould holes. So from door mouldings that have been bogged over instead of welding over. Now, what they did on this other door here, I did exactly the same thing. I've welded over them now because I started on this door yesterday. But what they ended up doing, oh, here's a rust piece that I've cut out and welded back over. That looks nice now. Just a little bit of skim of body filler and that'll be done. There's no rust there now. But as you can see, this door compared to the other one, all the jambs haven't been touched on this one. So this is like, this is the factory paint, this is like a silver. But I'll just lift this door up. Okay, so as you can see, I've welded over the mold holes now. But can you see that rust? That's all surface rust, and that's actually under the paint. And it's really bad. Like really, really bad. Look how bad it is there. Have a look at that. Fantastic. And then after hitting it with the blower, look at the big chunks of, this is supposed to be high fill. It comes off cleanly. Look how nice the paint is underneath. So I don't know what the go is. That orange stuff looks like it's epoxy. There's bog under that. I don't think there's anything under the bog. So what I think's happened is they've bare metaled the door, left it who knows where till it rusted, then bogged over these mold holes, not before they dented them, mind you. So they put a big dent into each hole so that they can actually add a bit more body filler and feather edge it out so that it grabs nicely. So they're all dented. Yeah, it's terrible. So you've got to start again basically. So we've got to strip this whole skin off. So at least I haven't touched the jambs. Thank God. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do, I've marked where these mould holes are. Where the bog is over the mould holes. So I'm going to hit them with a wire wheel to get all the body filler off, bog. I'm going to do that area there where it's supposed to have a patch panel that's been done. I just want to see what that looks like. And I'll do that rusty piece that's underneath in the jam area as well, just to get it all back to the metal, and I can see exactly what I need to work with. Have a look at that. Look at the bog. Look how thick it is. That's shocking. They've dented it. So they've smashed it all in so they can get tons and tons of bog on there so it grabs really hard. Far out. Look. Even the rust repair hasn't been done properly. Wow, and look at all the rust underneath, all the surface rust. I want to see how far this goes. That's terrible. It's not just bog, it's rust, bog, something green and red, epoxy or some sort of sealer, another body filler, then bog again, the white stuff. Wow. And it's thick, it's not thin. That's a good 4 mil at least. Time to call the owner, I guess, give him the bad news. I think it's time for a new door. Okay, so I just gave the owner the bad news. I suggested that we try and find another door to work with because this is ridiculous. Like, huge dent there, that they've just bashed in only for the sake of getting bog on there. And you know, all that rust underneath, it's much easier, guys, just to start up with another door. You know, take the time to find a second-hand door. It might be a lot easier. You'll have all the acrylic paint on there. It'll come off really easy with paint stripper, and then you can see exactly what you've got to work with. Especially if you get a door that's not a gear door, so it won't have the mold holes. You're already off to a great start, especially if you don't want to put the molds back. So we're going to try and source one of those, but I'll continue working with the other door and see how we go. So I think Ellie's choice of panel beaters might have gone something like this.
Hello!
Come on in, come on in!
Come on, what?
To our state-of-the-art facility! As you can see, we have nothing but high-tech equipment here.
It's great!
We're flat chat at the moment, but we'll still do your job to the quickest time possible.
Why is it not working? I can't work it. We have a customer! We have a customer!
But I just started reading the cartoons.
We have a customer!
Our shop is always clean and clutter-free. Are you looking for something?
I find it! I had it in my pocket the whole time.
Yeah, we use nothing but the best panel beating techniques.
What do you want me to do with this bog?
Put that away. And we are expert technicians. Work on your pride and joy.
It's getting better. The customer will be proud.
Yeah, we can work on any car.
Any car?
Any car.
Any car?
Any car.
Any car?
I heard you. So when would you like to bring your car into our workshop?
It's $10,000 up front and it will be done in 2 days. Remember?
2 days. And yeah, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a mixture of some rust converter and spray it everywhere because there is surface rust, you know, here and there. Oh, what is that? But yeah, there's a little bit of surface rust here and there inside it. I'll put some rust converter in it. That'll kill the rust, neutralize it, and give it like a primed sort of surface. Then I'll try and hit it with some 2K epoxy, or even just to seal it up, you know, with a brush or whatever, with some 2K epoxy, and that just seals it up and leaves it all 100% ready for work. Let's get started. Okay, that's that part done. We just got to let it dry now. So you just want to get into all the edges sort of thing, you know, all the little creases and stuff like that where it's hard to get, you know, paint into from the factory. So those areas are usually bare metal, or they don't have much paint or, you know, rust protection on them. So you want to try and get into those areas. They're the areas that start surface rusting straight away. Alrighty, so while the rust converter primer is doing its thing, it takes about 2 to 3 hours to completely do its job and go black. Once it goes black, you'll know that it's done, and it starts to dry up. So that's all on the inside, so they can do whatever it's got to do. and we'll start paint stripping this door. Now there is a bit of bog, it looks like there's a big skim of bog across the door, but I do want to get most of this paint off as much as I can first to see what the condition of the door is. Yeah, anyway, we'll see how that goes. Okay, so the story goes that when Ellie bought this car, it had been painted at some stage, so that's why it's got that nice shiny silver there. So at some stage it was painted. Now we don't know at what stage the mould holes were done with the bog, if that was previous or what the go is. I'm still not 100% sure. I've got to ask Ellie about that and see what the go is. Not that it matters either way, it's all been done wrong. So now this surface rust is ridiculous. You can't have that underneath the paint. It'll just eventually start coming back. So we'll paint strip this door, see what the condition of it is as much as we can. It'll probably stop stripping once it gets to the body filler. We'll have to hit it with a wire wheel or something just to get it off, and go from there. Let's see how we go. Okay, here's the door after 3 coats of paint stripper. Majority of the paint's off. It had multiple layers because it was painted, you know, after being, you know, made, I guess. So after the factory paint, it has been sprayed again at some stage. Now I've discovered that's what all the surface rust is about. So they've sanded, you can actually see the sand marks and everything. So they've whizzed these areas where there must be dents, or where they wanted to create dents, in this case, where they wanted to fill up the mold holes. So you can see all the like where they've sanded it. You can clearly see the line here. So this is sanded, this is not sanded, this is where they left original paint. So there's no surface rust there, but where they've bogged directly onto bare metal, I don't know if they left the bare metal for a while and then bogged over, but there's all surface rust under it. This is why I don't put bog straight onto bare metal. I always put it on top of epoxy. So seal the door first, seal all the bare metal, and then do all your bodywork on top. That's the way I do it. Other people can do it other ways, but you can clearly see evidence here of surface rust. Not good at all. So that's with a quick wipe over. I'll just hit it with the whizzer now and take all the rest of it off, get it down to bare metal. I'll hit this little area with the wire wheel, just because it's a little bit easier. I don't like doing them with the paint stripper. It gets into all little nooks and crannies and sometimes it's hard to get out. You don't want that stuff underneath the paint or any other sort of work that you're doing on top of the bare metal. Okay. Okay, so now all nice and clean in bare metal. Well, not all nice and clean, but it's in bare metal. We've got a few rust spots here. I just had a little poke with the screwdriver, went straight through. So just a couple of little holes, nothing too drastic. So I'll just seal them up now. With a bit of weld, I'll just drill them out and then weld them up, grind them back, and bye bye rust. So we're going to weld up these holes that I made with the drill now, where the rust was. I'm going to use the TIG because the MIG's out, being borrowed by somebody. So it's a little bit harder with the TIG, but I can still get it done. Alrighty. Rust be gone! And it was gone. Okay, so working on the left hand side rear door. Paint stripped everything and found this rust. So I'll cut that out, cut a little patch piece and weld it in. Guys, one thing to remember when you're welding, I buy the sheet metal that I buy comes zinc coated. That stuff, it burns away. As far as I understand, it's poisonous as well. Like when it burns, the gas that it produces can be toxic. So I just take it into place, and then with the wire wheel, just take the coating off it, and then weld it up. And it doesn't burn away as much. You know, it might burn from behind a little bit, but you don't get so much of it coming up and coming through. Plus it gives a cleaner weld as well, so just another thing to remember. Okay, so after cutting all the little rust patches out and welding new ones in, now we've got a new issue. The issue now being that the metal is so thin, especially around the rusted areas, it's warped. So if you can see that, you can see it's a massive dent there now. So it's all sucked in. So it's sucked the surfaces in from there, and then it's created a different sort of, here it's expanded compared to there. So we've got quite a bit of panel bedding to do now, and a little bit of heat shrinking. Alright, let's see if we can fix this up now. Alright, so I'm giving the easy bit a bit of a go now. So basically this just welds these studs onto the panel here. Then you use a slide hammer on the studs and pull them up, because I can't get any access for a hammer into the back of them. So this is the only way to go about it.
Shut up and sit down.
Okay, some heat shrinking here and there, some panel beating, some easy beat work, and it's starting to get there. Doesn't look the best in the camera here, but it's starting to get much straighter. It was pretty bad. So as you can see there, the gap's closing up really nicely. So a little skim of body filler will get all that quite easily. You can see here the gap is still quite big at the top there, so I'm starting to work my way up. It closes up there, so it needs a bit of heat shrink here just to get rid of some of this expansion. See that there? So a bit of that now, a bit of heat shrink, stiffen that up a bit and move the metal somewhere else, and then I'll start working this area here and start closing up that gap. Lots of work. Okay, that has taken all day, but I've got it. It's no longer warped too bad. Let me see if I can show you. So it's very minimal now. Very minimal daylight that you can see, which is great. So that's exactly what I wanted. But it took a lot of heat shrinking to get the oil canning out, and easy bit with work with the stud welder, trying to pop it back out again, but the stud welder tends to just get little sections out, not big whole sort of areas out, so it makes it a bit tougher. A little bit of hammer and dolly work, but it's there now. It's good enough for me. 1 mil, 1.5 mil skim of body filler, that's fine. As long as it's not rusty now, which is the main issue that we started with. But it's all sorted now. Okay, on to the next step. Alright, so we're going to come back to this front door now, the front passenger side door. The holes for the side mirror were very worn out. Well, one of them's okay, the other one was very worn out, so I tried filling it in, but the metal's so thin that it just started blowing holes, so I've drilled it out a bit bigger, and I'm going to put a patch in there and weld that up. It'll be much better, much cleaner, and then I can just drill it out to the size I need. So let's do that now. The piece all welded in, beaten down because it starts to rise itself, of course, from the heat. So it's all panel bedded flat. It's not the prettiest thing, but as long as it's correct and does its job. Now I made the hole again the right size, Should work much better. Okay, so back to these doors. Now I've discovered a little bit of rust here in the pillar of one of the back doors. So I'll just cut that out, make a new piece and weld it in.